Hi there. My name is Anthony Martin. I'm the Senior Field Services Program Manager covering Southeast Iowa with Iowa Soybean Association's Research Center for Farming Innovation. Today I'm going to be covering some work we did last year in 2020 utilizing drones for foliar applications. So first thing was why we wanted to work with drones. This is a new and evolving technology. We know that automation in agriculture is coming. Any of you who may have attended the Power Farming Show or have been to the Farm Progress Show know, some of the biggest attractions there would have been the autonomous tractor, combine. These technologies are coming. So we wanted to see how drones, which are available right now, are able to fit into an operation. So historically, we've had three in-season foliar application options, which would have been your ground application, and then the aerial application utilizing either a plane or a helicopter. So this really gives us a fourth option, third aerial option, utilizing the drone for that in-season application. We are aware that there have been issues with some of those current options. If you think about your ground application, if you're going into corn late season, we need a high boy, and then we still need to accept the fact that we're going to be pushing that corn. Narrow row soybeans, if you're wanting to do the ground application, you're going to be running over beans. And then with the aerial applications, we also have issues. On the right there are images that were taken from a field many years ago, where that application with the airplane was supposed to be done with the row, so east-west. We can see that instead it was done diagonally and even went across the farmstead there at the northeast side of the field. Along with that, we also know that not all fields are going to be suitable for all of those options. Especially if you're in rolling terrain where your fields might be broken up, by terraces or just, smaller pieces. It's going to be kind of challenging to get a 90 or 120 foot boom on the ground rig through those. And it also makes it somewhat difficult for a plane if you're not, necessarily going at a straight line with the row. So there are some issues with what we have currently. The other reason we wanted to look at this is actually a local resource. The company that we worked with is Rantizo out of Iowa City, and they have a growing contractor group around the state who are using the drones and going out and applying these fields. So just an example, this was one of the drones that we used on one of the trials. So what are some of the benefits? What do the drones offer? So one thing, especially as I mentioned with this growing group of contractors, is that we have almost an on-demand option for application. We're not going to be bogged down with necessarily weather conditions. If the soil, is too wet to get in with a ground rig, we can come in with that aerial application. And, in our experience in 2020, we were able to get the contractor pilot out very quickly to do this application. We're not only going to be able to apply liquid foliar products, we can also go in with dry products, for example, cover crops, late season, if we wanted to do some seeding there. This is an autonomous option based off of a prescription that the farmer would provide to the pilot. So the drone is only going to be applying over areas that it's told to. That also leads to those spot applications or variable rate. And then last year, Rantizo actually did get approval for swarming. So what that means is that they're going to be running multiple drones, or they can run multiple drones at a time to cover more acres more quickly while they're out there doing these applications. On the image there on the right, just to kind of illustrate some of these points. So in the red box there would have been a a late planted or replant area that we might want to come in and only apply to those acres. So that's where that prescription is going to come in. And then the yellow boxes, other options that we might be able to do with these drones. Something that we might want to look at in the upcoming years would be, having a drone come in and do some scouting over those areas. So fly over, see, are we seeing disease, pest, or possible, weed escapes or something along those lines. Go out there with the drone, take a look at those areas, and then build our prescription based off of what we're finding. I'm not going to say that this is going to completely remove boots on the ground, actually walking out in the field and looking. This is merely a starting point and can cut down on how far or what we need to actually go out and look at. We can just pinpoint areas. So for 2020, what we ended up having were 4 fungicide trials with Delero and then Miravisnio. And then we also had 2 foliar zinc applications. Most of these would have just been done for general observation. The majority of these fields, it was simply a product versus untreated without having any sort of drone comparison. So like I said, this was basically just for general observations to see how the system worked. And then like many fields, many trials this year, the weather did impact several of them. One trial though, we actually were able to set up three treatments with that Delero fungicide. So we had that Delero applied with the drone, then Delero, which would have been applied with a ground rig, and then untreated check strip. So all those applications occurred on the same day. From scouting that I did, there was little disease pressure that was seen. And one thing, the farmer did see some foliar changes, but I was not able to capture that. I was out before he noticed those, and that would have just been in those fungicide strips. If we look at the individual replications, individual treatments, we can see here in the red is going to be that ground application, and then the blue would be the drone applied fungicide, and then gray is our untreated check strip. So average yield results for the drone, 67 bushel, ground applied 66.5 bushel, and then untreated was 64.1 or 64 bushel. So what we can get from that is that our drone and ground applications are almost identical, which means that this is really an option, that we're not losing anything by using that drone to apply that fungicide. You can also see, that fungicide for this field was 2.5, 3 bushel response, which is pretty good. And then the other thing with these results, to me anyway, would be showing that we really can use this as a spot application. We're not saying that all of those acres that were applied needed to be. We could have maybe left some of those untreated and still had this same response. But with the drone, we're going to be able to hit those areas, those spots, target those some of those areas a lot easier than we would be able to with a ground application. So overall thoughts from this work, this isn't necessarily an option for full field applications. Just based off of 14 or 20 acre per hour application rate, that's not necessarily something we want to do for a full 80. It is a very good option for spot applications. Favorable federal regulations. I mentioned FAA approved swarming. That's also going to really benefit, how quickly we can cover fields, which would ultimately kind of negate that first thought there. And then evidence that the product is pushed into the canopy. The system is similar to a helicopter, just on a smaller level. So that downdraft is really going to push that chemical down into the canopy. And then really, the fact that this is an autonomous system where we are putting in that shape file for it to only apply those areas, we can reduce some of the human error that we may have observed in other applications. So looking ahead to 2021 and years beyond that, we are hoping to do this work again. One thing that we would really like to see would be a plane versus the drone in those aerial applications. Do a deeper dive into the overall return on investment with these. And then, I mentioned that that penetration, that chemical getting into the canopy, doing some testing there just to see how well it really is getting pushed in. So with that, I'm going to thank you for tuning in here. If you have any questions or thoughts or comments, feel free to reach out to me. My email and phone number are listed there. I would appreciate any feedback and can help out wherever you might have some questions. So thank you.